Chapter 1, Section 7, Intro to Perimeter, Circumference, and Area. This first part should be a review of how to find the perimeter and area of different shapes. To find the perimeter of a square, we do 4 times s, which is the side length. Remember, a square has 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides. To find the area of a square, you do side squared or side times side. An example of this gives us a picture of a square with 5 foot sides. To find the perimeter, we do 4 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20. And when we're finding the perimeter, we just use units, so it's 20 feet. Remember, the perimeter measures length around, which is one-dimensional, so it's just feet. Units are important. Please make sure that when you're doing your assignment and when you're taking a test and everything from now on, you need to make sure that your units are there in your answer. The example for area, using the same square, we would do 5 squared. 5 times 5 is 25. And area, we do units squared. So in this case, it's 25 feet squared. Area is two-dimensional, and so it needs to be units squared. To find the perimeter of a rectangle, you do 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. To find the area, you do length times width. An example of this, I have a rectangle with a length of 5 and a width of 3 inches. To find the perimeter, I do 2 times 5 plus 2 times 3, which gives me 16 inches. To find the area, I need to do 5 times 3, which is 15 inches squared. To find the perimeter of a triangle, you just add up the 3 sides. I've labeled these A, B, and C. To find the area of a triangle, it's 1/2 the base times the height. The base is going to be a side of the triangle. The height has to go from the vertex opposite of the base, and it has to be perpendicular to the base. The base is not always going to be the bottom number or the bottom side of your triangle. It could be a side to the left or to the right. The base is always the side that is perpendicular to the height. An example, to find the perimeter, we're going to add up the side lengths. Notice it's 5 plus 5 plus 6. 4 is not a side length because it's not measuring the length of the outside of the triangle. 4 is the height because it's going through the center of the triangle. The perimeter of this would be 16 inches. And for the area, we need to do base times height. In this case, our base is 6 and our height is 4. Notice those are the 2 lines that are perpendicular, and 6 is the length of a side and 4 is not. So 1/2 6 times 4, which gives you 12 inches squared. To find the circumference of a circle, you do 2 times pi times radius. You could also do pi times diameter. I like to keep this equation with radius since area uses the radius. Remember, the radius only goes halfway through the circle and the diameter goes all the way. So if you're given the diameter, you would divide it by 2 or cut it in half to find the radius. To find the area of a circle, you do pi times radius squared. This is important that you do radius squared first. Do not multiply pi times radius and then square it. The order of operations, we need to do exponents first, but you will get the wrong answer if you do pi times radius and then square that. So it's just radius squared and then multiply it by pi. An example gives us a radius of 4 yards. So we do 2 times pi times 4. You can leave your answer in 2 ways in a circle. You could say 8 pi yards. This is called leaving it in terms of pi. If you go ahead and multiply 8 times 3.14, which is what we're going to use for pi, you would get 25.12 yards. To find the area, we need to do pi times 4 squared. Remember, we need to do 4 squared first. Get rid of your exponent first, which would give you 16 pi yards squared. leaving it in terms of pi. If you multiplied 16 times 3.14, you would get 50.24 yards squared. The first example that we need to talk about says find the area of a triangle defined by -2, 2, 3, -1, and -2, -4. We have a graph. We need to go ahead and plot the points. It gives us 3 points, which will become the 3 vertices of my triangle. Because we are talking about a triangle, we need to go ahead and draw the triangle in. We do have a way to find the length of all of these sides using the distance formula, but if you look at the side going straight up and down to your left, you notice that we don't even have to use the distance formula. We can just count the squares or the units from one point to the next. And when we do that, we find that it is 6 units. That would need to be the base, so I need to draw a line going from the opposite vertex that is perpendicular. Again, this works nicely because it goes with the grid of the graph. When we count those units, we find that it is 5 units long. So to find the area of this triangle, we need to do 1/2, 6 times 5. Half of 6 is 3, times 5 is 15, and it shouldn't say inches there, it should say units because it doesn't tell us what we're measuring. So it should be 15 units squared. Example 2 says you are going to frame a picture that is 8 inches wide and 10 inches tall. The frame is to be 2 inches wide. Find the area of the frame. So we're going to start with a picture that's 10 inches wide, 8 inches wide and 10 inches tall, and we're going to draw a frame around it. Remember, it tells us in the problem that we have a 2-inch wide frame. So it's 2 inches on the top, 2 inches on the bottom, 2 inches on the left and the right. To find the dimensions of the larger rectangle or of the whole larger rectangle created, we would need to do 10 plus 2 plus 2 because there's 2 inches on the top and 2 inches on the bottom to find a new height of 14 inches. We need to do the same thing with the width. We start with 8 inches on the picture. We add 2 to both sides of that, which gives us 12 inches. Now to find the area of just the frame, just the blue part in the picture, I need to find the area of the whole thing, which would be 12 times 14, and subtract the area of the picture, which is 8 times 12. Well, 14 times 12 is 168, minus 8 times 10 is 80. So when we subtract this, we find that the area of the frame is 88 inches squared. The next example says a circle has a circumference of 100 yards. Find its area. We're given a circumference. Well, we need to find the radius to plug into the formula for area, which is pi times radius squared. We can find the radius by plugging in the circumference 100 into that formula. So we know that 2 times pi times r equals 100 because 2 times pi times r gives you the circumference, and that tells us that the circumference is 100. We need to divide both sides by 2 pi to get r by itself, and when we do that, we find that r equals 15.9. Now that we have the radius, r, we can find the area by plugging it into the formula. So we can do radius, 15.9 squared, times pi. Well, 15.9 squared times pi, when you plug it into a calculator, gives you 793.8 yards squared. Today's assignment is on page 55. It's numbers 10 through 48 even.